Given Spider-Man 2's upcoming release, I figured it'd be a good time to revisit Spider-Man 2018, as I'm sure a lot of you have. And it's been a really interesting experience, as my perspective of Spider-Man has drastically changed since I first played it. And we've had a diverse set of Spider-Man media, like two great influential movies, a movie made out of spite, and this game hasn't aged that well. So for this video, I hope to tackle on those aspects, and whenever I make my Spider-Man 2 video, it'll be great to look back on it and see how well or not it holds relevancy, like my Jedi Fallen Order video. Which, thank you for the support on that, by the way, and you should check it out already if you haven't, but of course once you're done with the video. Before I go into any and all complaints I have about the game, I'll give some things I like about it. Yuri Lowenthal's performance as Peter Parker is one of the best I've seen for a superhero, period. The way he carries his voice differently as both Peter Parker and Spider-Man is brilliant.
I was afraid that if word got out, my family might be in danger.
Hey, where you going? Catch! I'll clear a path. Follow me.
And I honestly can't wait to hear how he handles his performance with the symbiote. John Pastinos? I don't know, I struggle with the name, forgive me. But his score is incredibly well done, having a nice mix of old and newer Spider-Man, which sounds beautifully. And finally, quite frankly, every person who has some hand in this game should be really proud of what they've made, and I'm not trying to discredit that when I make this video. But yeah, that's generally it. Now, it's time to not be not nice Bryce. Looking back on this game, the thing that really gave it a lot of praise was that, well, is that it's a game that makes you feel like you're Spider-Man. Which, yeah, it does. Most importantly with the web swinging. Diving down headfirst and shooting a web at the last second with Spider-Man spinning with momentum is still satisfying. But there's not much to say about it other than that it works. It feels intuitive. Spider-Man can do 4 tricks, one going side to side, one doing a front flip, back flip, and spinning while diving. And you can go through these tunnel locations. And yeah, that's really what this swinging has going for it. Yes, there is some smaller things to make it a more engaging experience. The biggest praise that can be given to this game's swinging is that it works. It feels good. But even then, it still leaves a lot more to be desired. And I'm not saying this because Spider-Man 2 is seemingly going to make this swinging better and deeper, but because other and arguably worse games have way more deeper mechanics. I recognize people find such mechanics pointless, but let me explain. Parkour or free running in general is such an exhilarating experience, because players have choices to make. The ability to express yourself in creative ways. You can try to do this in Spider-Man. Going off the beaten path, you realize how poorly structured some of the systems are. Moves not fully being able to connect, animations not properly transitioning. You start seeing the code that holds this game together. It's a very disheartening experience, something that Miles Morales improves on. Miles has a lot more expressive animations and other quality of life improvements, yet most of those expressive animations consist of the player using inputs in the air. But I'm getting off topic. Essentially, the game doesn't do much to push the envelope on freedom, and is often very limiting, due to a lack of variety of moves, proper momentum, and this level of limitation is mainly due to the open world, but changing it to the full extent I'd like would have the developer build New York from the ground up. And this version of New York is a beautiful recreation, but it doesn't feel like a character like Gotham or San Francisco, just a place to have fun, and perhaps that's all it needed to be. Of course you have the landmarks, the Marvel Easter eggs, reminding you this is a Marvel's New York. I can see how they'd be limited in ideas for creativity when it comes to New York. However, a great way for the world to feel alive would be by having you do quests to interact with people. As you know, you are a hero. Helping people is a part of the program. And you do plenty of that in this game. This game has you talk to people, and it mainly consists of them telling you they need help fixing something, or to stop bad guys. The missions can have some unique scenarios, but it doesn't do anything worth praise. There are some interesting ideas like having you do these facilities for Harry, but they don't do anything for Peter as a character. The missions have you do things that go from being pretty forgettable to, yeah, this is neat. There are other smaller activities like Black Cat and Taskmaster in the mix, but they're whatever really for the most part. But genuinely, you can play the game without interacting with the side content and you'll just have the same experience. There are some solid ideas at play, like introducing Howard the pigeon owner, a homeless man, after Peter was evicted. It's a smart placement, but the game doesn't do much with it. While the mission just has you go on a literal pigeon chase, and to give the game some praise, it promotes the player to web swing in different and unique and fun ways. Also, we learn about who Howard as a person is as we go through the mission, and his wife. And Peter gives some good advice about loved ones and the memories we hold with them as we progress through this arc. All of this via a phone call, which I'll elaborate my issue on in a bit. But what would have been cool is that Peter and Howard actually had a conversation afterwards. Peter realizing how beneficial receiving help can be, as it helped Howard reconnect with his wife and look at her passing in a better light. That message would have made that questline so much more meaningful. As beyond web-slinging challenges, combat is where the game shines. Peter's attacks are incredibly responsive. The ability to combo attacks in the air is something truly one of a kind. Well, kind of, but that's a whole other discussion. The ways you can use different webs are also very nice. Combine all of that, you have a good combat system. But then we get to the gadgets. You've lost me entirely at this point. Web bomb, gravity lift, and concussive blast is all you need. Yes, you can just not use the gadgets, but that takes away the point of even grinding to get those gadgets, as you have to do crimes and other activities to obtain them, and level them up. But because it made the game more interesting, I shouldn't grind for them? That's just poor design, and there's no excuse for it. Now, the nitty-gritty of it all is the story. It's just okay. The story is really just okay. And it has some highs, but in between all of that, there's just so much. Too much, even. The game starts off at a very solid pace. Great set piece, but with no mechanical depth, which a lot of Sony games have this issue, but this game specifically bothers me a lot, but I'll explain why later. But how does the game keep this momentum after you beat Fizz? By flip-flopping between all these different things. First introducing crimes. Then we have to do Doc Ock stuff, because we have Dan Slott in the writing team. Then back to the main plot, which we slowly but surely get to by fighting Shocker. Back to Peter Parker, then back to Doc Ock. And you get the picture. This first act of the game is such a slog, and we haven't even found out about Mr. Negative's identity. And we still have Doc Ock in the equation. And the more I talk about it, it sounds like I'm reviewing a bad superhero movie, doesn't it? Of course, it's a video game, so it can get away with doing this sort of thing. Right? Well, yeah, but unfortunately we just have a very atrociously paced game that does so much, but somehow very little. The role of Dr. Octavius as Peter's mentor figure could have easily worked with Mr. Negative, but unfortunately he's written down to be a sort of catalyst, leading to the Sinister Six. And the game isn't really better for it. We have these poorly developed villains we have to fight. The boss fight themselves are unique and cinematic and all these things. The unique factor comes with the fact that you are fighting them in teams of 2, so it makes for an interesting idea, yes, but it never goes above and beyond mechanically. As like we've established, the gadgets aren't that well balanced, so you'll just find yourself doing 1 to 3 different strategies that consist of you spamming the same tool combo, or maybe a quick time event. Also, another thing is how the game just ruins depth with quick time events. The car chases are not even that dynamic. You just move your stick and press square. No different ways to interact with the car, or things to consider. Nothing pushing the envelope for an experience to be memorable for its mechanics. The game is just really cinematic, and I feel like a lot of the game's mechanics are dumbed down and simplified for people to engage with it easier. While that has seemingly worked wonders, you definitely can feel how it holds the game back, especially on replays. Back to the plot at hand, the game just spends so much time flip-flopping between all these different plot points, doing very little as Peter, but it doesn't help as you play as MJ in between these sections. And while I know everyone unanimously agrees that these MJ missions kill the pacing, I'm still going to grill it, as MJ as a character is exhibit A of how not to change a character, to me at least. MJ is such a disingenuous representation of her. She's a reporter now, And to me, it's just a way for Insomniac to make her different and not seem like she's just a damsel in distress. I can kind of respect that. However, we don't know why she wants to be a reporter, what makes her so good at reporting, or why she even wants to be a reporter. Did she go from a career of acting to being a reporter? How did that go? All of that and more could have been explored in meaningful side content, or hell, even in the game's main story itself. That would honestly help the player connect with MJ in her opposition to Peter, as there are some meaningful and interesting conversations between the two in the latter part of the game that feels so genuine and shows their connection. As I feel like they could have been handling this so much better with a questline where we work with MJ to help civilians get food during the Devil's Breath massacre. Instead, we have MJ being really inconsistent, to put it nicely. She's not like other love interests because she risks her life to uncover the story. She doesn't like Peter being cautious when she does things. No, but she just doesn't properly communicate these things. She's going to a military base with trained guards and not asking for any backup, just to take pictures, which we can easily do as Spider-Man, and to get information on the plot. And when Peter calls her out for this builds even more distrust to the point she actively doesn't tell Peter of the significance Grand Central Station has. The game doesn't do much to make her likable on multiple fronts. Now, quickly before I go into anything else, it bothers me that you can't do stealth takedowns on walls or ceilings, when there's animations of Peter doing it in this mission that Insomniac didn't seem interested in using. But I digress.
Yeah, everyone's safe.
Good job.
Hey, Peter.
Yeah?
You done in there? We should talk.
Yeah, we should.
Let's like us. Let's like us for real. Not ready to... You were the one... Wait. Okay, wait. Can we just talk about this? After Lee is done, she said, after this, we should talk. She said, oh, I'm not ready to talk right now. Based on what? Based on what? Based on what? You were the... Okay.
Texting isn't talking?
Thank you. There's that as well.
The game is now at odds with itself, trying to present these different sides, but MJ has shown to be in the wrong multiple times no matter how you feel about her. All this for Peter to be willing to work with people as a team, which, when it happens, it doesn't feel gratifying as we spend about 10 hours just to get here. As I said, the game just has so much going for it, just for it to barely connect, and say very little by the end. Aunt May dies. Doc Ock is insane. And yeah, it's sad, but Spider-Man is a sad dude. While the death of Aunt May is really bold and chilling to this day, I still can't connect with this Peter Parker as I do for Spectacular, as I suppose we haven't seen how the events of the first game affected him, even in Miles Morales. And so this would be a good opportunity for Spider-Man 2 to push this version of Peter far, which I believe they will. But even then's game, in a lot of ways, is kind of pointless. It serves as a fun Spider-Man game, and a really good story, but deep down, it's just, covered with all of this bad pacing, unbalanced combat, and swinging with no depth. I cannot play this game without thinking about how other Spider-Man games have handled aspects of this game a lot better. And that makes me kind of sad. Hope Spider-Man 2 is better.